Morning glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Good Friday to you. Let me begin by telling our friends in Georgia on Atlanta 920 a.m. the answer. You already know this. Bad morning ahead. Right? Hurricane Helene came ashore last night. Big Bend in the Florida, Category 4. Blew through Florida. It's now in Georgia. It's been in Georgia for 3 or 4 hours. Winds up to 110 miles per hour. 6 inches of rain in an hour. It's going right in Atlanta. Then it's going to turn left, go over and cut across Tennessee and Kentucky. It might nip the southwestern edge of Virginia, and believe it or not, it's going to Indiana over the weekend. So, Hoosiers, get out your rain gear. The big storm, lots of lightning, lots of flooding. Do not drive through moving water, and batten down the hatches and stay close to home. Now, today is the day that Kamala Harris, border czar, but not, according to her. What Joe Biden said in March of 2021 is she was responsible for stemming the flow at the border and getting at the root causes of the migration from the Central American countries. That's an almost direct quote. She did not stem the flow. She did not get to the root causes. She's a failure, as the border czar has allowed in between 10 and 15 million people across the southern border or flown in by charter that the United States government arranged. Not even talking about the northern border, not even talking about people who come from Haiti via watercraft or Cuba via watercraft. We're not talking about those sorts of refugees, just they walked across. So Kamala Harris is bleeding out. We saw it on Special Report last night in Arizona. Donald Trump has surged ahead of her. And I think every border state, and maybe every state where there are a lot of people who cross the border, are going to turn against her. So last night I was on Special Report with Brett Baer, and I didn't get the question. Matt Continetti got the question from Brett about whether or not it's a good idea for Kamala Harris to go to the border. I think it's a horrible idea, but here it is. Cut number 28. Matt Continetti on
She
Special
heads
Report
to Arizona tomorrow and is going to head to a border stop. How will that go? You know, will hanging the lantern there on that issue, which is perceived as a vulnerability, somehow solve that issue?
I don't think it's a smart move, Brett. I think it'll only remind people that she was put in charge of resolving the border crisis at the outset of this administration, and it only grew worse over time. Immigration is Donald Trump's signature issue. That's not where Kamala Harris should be drawing a contrast if she hopes to win. And so I think this will be a good day for the president tomorrow, only contrasting himself with Harris on the border and also meeting with Zelensky. And I hope coming away convinced that America needs to continue to help Ukraine resist Russian aggression.
Matt is exactly right. This is going to throw a spotlight on the fact she's an utter, complete failure at this. Cut number 23. Donald Trump also spoke to this at a press conference yesterday at Trump Tower. Cut number 23.
For nearly 4 years, we have been living through the worst border crisis in the history of the world. There's never been anything like it, which has brought untold suffering, misery, and death upon our land.
All right, I want to point out, some people said he's always hyperbolic. No, that's true. We have never had 10 million people or more from countries that are not developed cross without any kind of a burden, any kind of a barrier into a country that is the most developed country in the world. We have never done that. We have had lots of mass migration. We have had checks at people at Ellis Island for health and things like that. Usually you had to have a sponsor. You went back on the boat. We've never seen anything like this. We've seen massive migrations of people in the Roman times, right? And we've seen Genghis Khan in the medieval, we've seen all that different stuff. That's not what's going on here. It is unprecedented. Now, Kamala Harris is going to go to the border, and what she said to Stephanie Ruhle about the border on Wednesday night should concern everyone. Cut number 15.
But there are people there that are stressed, that feel that they're at capacity. Communities around the country that have legal immigration, many have said we're at capacity. And many feel like the government has said to them, well, adapt, sit down, be quiet. This is how it is. What would a Harris administration do for those communities who've taken in many, many legal immigrants but are at capacity?
Well, first of all, we do have a broken immigration system, and it needs to be fixed. And if we take a step back, months ago, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress came together with others, proposed a border security bill. That would have put 1,500 new border agents on the border to help those hardworking border agents who are there right now working around the clock. Would have put more money into stemming the flow of fentanyl, which is killing Americans around our country and devastating communities. Would have put more resources into our ability to prosecute transnational criminal organizations, which in my career I've prosecuted. Donald Trump got word of the bill, realized it was going to fix a problem he wanted to run on, and told him to kill the bill, don't put it up for a vote.
No, that's just an absolute lie. As people know, Chairman Lankford from Oklahoma went off at the instruction of the Republican senators, did the best he can, brought back the best he could. It wasn't even good enough to get us more than 3 votes. Wasn't going to get out of the Republican conference. Had nothing. It wasn't bipartisan. It was terrible. Didn't have a wall. Had 5,000 people a day coming in. Donald Trump spoke to this yesterday, cut number 20.
You will hear Kamala claim that the reason the border is not secure is that Congress has refused to pass her atrocious border bill. It's the worst bill you've ever seen. It would allow people to come in here at levels that would be incredible and would allow them to get citizenship. But
He's right. He's right. And he went on at length about it. Bottom line, there was no bill. Bottom line, there was a controlled border when Trump left. Biden and Harris opened the border. Harris has done nothing. She has not been to the border but once in 4 years. This will be her second trip, and her first trip didn't really take her to where the problem was. I want to remind people of a short history of immigration. Democrats had majorities in 2009, 2010, 2021, 2022, with which they could have passed via reconciliation comprehensive immigration reform, and they chose not to. They want the issue, not Republicans. Republicans tried immigration reform in 2006, 2007, 2023, and again with Jim Lankford in 2024. The Democrats aren't serious. They will not build the wall. And therefore, it's not just one wall. We need 2, and we need many more border agents, and we need lots more support for local law enforcement, and we need deportation of people who are here when they cross any kind of law enforcement path. Here's the deal. The fact that Stephanie Ruhle did not bring this out and that the media will oblige Kamala Harris by going to the border with her today will not persuade one person about the border. It will, however, throw a searchlight back onto the issue. And I just think she has a terrible campaign team. And she doesn't have any sparkle. She's so bad. I was, on the panel last night. First question came to me about the polls. Cut number 25 from Special Report last night.
Okay, Hugh, you look at polls every day. Some people glaze over as we're getting closer and closer to Election Day. By the way, everybody should look at likely voters now at this point in the election because these 7 states, that's really where the game is.
You are right. And those 7 states are tight as a tick, to borrow the cliche. I watched last night the vice president give her 5th consecutive dull, uninspiring, and substance-free interview. And I think the ice is freezing over, Brett. Began with Dana Bash, Brian Taft, the National Association of Black Journalists, Oprah, and then last night, only 1.8 million watched her live at 7 p.m. And I'm thinking to myself, she is losing the opportunity to make the sale. And I just don't think, boy, that clip of Barack Obama reminded me, when you've got sparkle, you've got it, and she hasn't got it. She's not even close to it. She got like 0 sparkle. Now, Brett came back to me one more time because today Donald Trump is going to meet with President Zelensky of Ukraine, who has some explaining to do because he got sucked in by his ambassador into a nakedly political event. He made harsh comments about J.D. Vance. Never play in another country's politics. You just don't do it. So I got a chance to comment about that last night. Cut number 26.
Could this issue be a big issue in the campaign, Hugh?
It should be, because it matters in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and maybe in Michigan. There's a Ukrainian-American population, and generally among people who like American strength. Zelensky made a bad mistake yesterday, Brett, by appearing at what was a nakedly political event. Ingratitude scalds. When Putin first invaded Ukraine in 2014, Obama sent blankets. When Trump came into office, he sent anti-tank missiles. They were able to fend off the second invasion under Joe Biden. I think he's got a lot of explaining to do to the former president. Hopefully he gets it done, because there are a lot of hawks in the Republican Party who would like to support Zelensky, but that stunt in Pennsylvania yesterday was a very bad move on his part. It was a very bad move on his part, and I expect he will apologize to Donald Trump today and will rightly claim, I have no idea, I got worked. My ambassador dropped the ball. Josh Shapiro worked me, and, I appreciate everything you did for me when you were president. And if you're president again, I hope we can work together, because he is going to be president again, I think. All right, I'm coming right back. Don't go anywhere, America. I've got a complaint about Nintendo Switch coming up after the market.